All right, as you know, we have been tinkering around with our AR-15, AR-9, quote unquote mil spec trigger here, and we're going to jump right into it because I got a treat for you guys. We have gotten even lower on the trigger pull. Okay, now if this information is helping you out in any way, you're learning anything from it, and you find it entertaining, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Also, please continue to comment, like, and share. All right, so let's jump into it. So one of our previous videos, we actually showed you how to get your AR trigger pull between 3¼ and 3½ pounds. All right, so as you guys know, I've been continuing to work on the trigger and just see how good we can actually get our mil spec trigger and still have it being safe, reliable, and a fun gun to shoot. Okay, so we've gotten it even lower than the last video. All right, and if you haven't seen the last video, I'll go ahead and post that link right up here, right at the top right now. All right, so following the steps, the same steps from that particular video, here's what you want to do. Take your original trigger spring, all right, not your hammer spring, your trigger spring. Take your original mil spec trigger spring and put it back in the firearm. All right. Now, I know some of you are like, oh man, look, why would you want me to do that? That's gonna make the trigger pull heavy. Absolutely not. I was thinking about this and I figured that people have this incorrect. You know, I was like, man, this is backwards. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, any of you guys that have toyed around with your Glocks, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So just follow me for a second. And just have an open mind, guys. You know, I'm going to show you with the trigger pull gauge, but just think about it. In your Glock, you have to increase the trigger spring. Okay, you have to put an extra power trigger spring in your Glock. That's one of the steps. Okay, that's not the end all be all, but that's one of the steps that you have to do in accomplishing a lower trigger pull weight, along with reducing the firing pin spring weight. Okay, and of course your connector and things of that nature, right? Okay, yeah, we know the AR platform is different, but here's where the thinking is the same. Your trigger in the AR has the sear engagement on the front. Your hammer sits like this. Okay. Now, the most weight that determines your trigger pull is by your hammer spring. Okay. Now, it is a balancing act because once you start getting too low, you might have light primer strikes, you know, and things like that. So that's why we went with the JP Enhanced Reliability AR Fire Control Spring Set. All right. So, but back to what I was saying. Now, in that set, they give you a lower power hammer spring and a lower power trigger spring. And it seems like they give you an extra power disconnector spring. So their disconnector spring is a little bit, just a little bit more stiff than your mil spec disconnector spring. All right. Unless you got one of these duty mil spec fire control groups, you know, it's going to have a higher pull weight for like duty guns and things like that. But if you go with your standard AR mil spec trigger spring set, all right, the Enhanced Reliability spring set will give you a disconnector spring that's a little bit stiffer than that particular mil spec spring set. Okay. Now, same philosophy as the Glocks. All right. If you reduce your trigger spring weight and reduce your hammer spring, okay, in the AR, yeah, you will get a lower pull weight. But then you're going to get a little bit more creep or take up because the spring on the trigger is less powerful, okay, in weight. So I was like, well, let me go in and play around with it and see if this theory still holds true in the AR. All right, because remember, in the Glock, you have to put an extra power trigger spring to make the trigger pull shorter, okay, and then act more force throughout the system, okay? Same thing with the AR. All right, so you put your mil-spec trigger spring in, use the JP disconnect the spring and the JP hammer spring, and sure enough, worked just like I said it would work. You get the stronger trigger spring paired with the reduced hammer spring, and it takes less effort for the trigger or the sear to push down and release the firing pin. I'm sorry, your hammer. Think about the Glock. Your hammer, all right? So by you reducing the hammer spring weight, but keeping your trigger spring weight the same, it allows you to release the hammer a lot faster, okay, than using the JP enhanced reliability trigger spring, okay? So for those of you that want to stay, around 3.25, 3.5, or 4 pounds, depending on what you're getting, right? And the steps that you took in the last video, that's cool. These are only for the folks that want to just get a little bit better, all right? Maybe you're shooting long distances. Maybe you want to just get a little bit more accurate, all right? And the less resistance you get from the trigger, the less your gun will move, and the more your shots will be on target close together, okay? So now we'll go into the trigger pull weight with the gauge here, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So keep in mind, your mil-spec trigger spring, and then only use the disconnector spring and the hammer spring out of the JP Enhanced Reliability AR Fire Control Spring Set. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get a few trigger pull readings here. All clear. £2 pounds, 6 ounces. £2 pounds, 1.5 ounces. That one's a little low, lower than what I've been getting. £2 pounds, 8.9 ounces. Let's go with one more. £2 pounds, 8.5 ounces. Getting an average of 2 pounds, 6.6 ounces. All right, guys, so as you can see, it definitely works, all right? And the trigger pull is very smooth, all right? Very, very smooth. No grit, no griminess. 100% reliable. I've been working on this for a while. I've actually tested the rifle out, put 100 rounds through it. Well, pistol, I should say. So you're good to go, guys. All right. Now, I got one more thing that I'm going to do. That one is pushing the limit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you guys that on camera, because if that actually works, the last thing, that I'll do for this next video and it reduces the pull weight even more, then I probably won't be able to show it on YouTube without getting a strike on my channel or something like that, or some type of warning, because, you know, you're actually going lower than that 2 pound mark there, you know. So, but what I may do is, if that actually works, I'll just do like a quick video. And then if you guys want to know how I did it, you know, you can just shoot me an email, and, you know, in case you want to just test it out, and, you know, try it at the range, and, you know, just see if it's something that'll work for you. But right here, I think a lot of you guys that like the aftermarket single stage triggers, you're definitely going to love the results that you get with this. And it's a little bit weird because with the mil spec trigger, because the sear engagement is so long already, even though, you know, we're at that 2.25, 2.5 mark, it's not like it's a hairpin, even though the weight sounds like it's really, really light, which it is. But there's enough length of pull when you pulling the trigger. Like, let's just say you got a round in the chamber, right? And you didn't know it, and you started pulling the trigger. Even at the 2.5 pounds, or 2.25, or wherever we are, 2.4, right? 2 pounds, 4 ounces. With your finger on that trigger, and let's say you start pulling it slowly, it gives you enough time to be like, oh shoot, hold on, let me just check the gun. You know, it's not like it's just going to snap and break, you know, right then, you know what I mean? And just discharge the round. You know, now if you pull it real fast, it will. Okay. But it's not like a scary, quick disengagement. You know what I mean? Now, if you're doing like a regular rapid fire, you know how you slapping the trigger real hard, then yeah, you know, the bullet will be out before you get a chance to stop yourself from pulling the trigger. But it's hard to explain. Maybe some of you guys might get what I'm talking about, but it doesn't feel scary. Like, you know, I have some guns that, you know, trigger pull is so low and it breaks so fast and so quick that, you know, like certain guns that's set up like that, you can't mess around, you know, with that trigger. All right. And this is not scary at all, you know, because it still has a little bit of length of pull to it if you know, if you're pulling slow. All right, guys. So appreciate you tuning in. Keep commenting, keep sharing, keep subscribing, guys, and stay tuned for the next video. Have a good one.